Cue the music and dim the lights because we're stepping inside the fabulous Flamingo Lounge for the 7th season of Local Music Magic. In the Flamingo Lounge with Rockabilly Greg is more than just a podcast. It's a collection of stories that delves deep into the vibrant musical history of Buffalo and Western New York, creating a living archive where each story adds a unique thread to the overall narrative. This season, we're bringing you intimate conversations with musicians and music industry professionals, both young and old. We'll be exploring and celebrating the shared creativity that defines the artists, venues, and music events that we love. But before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, CatsLikeUs.com, Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, and new supporter Buffalo Ironworks for helping to keep the music alive. Ellen Pieroni, a soul jazz saxophonist and multi-instrumentalist from Buffalo, New York, has been a prominent figure in the local music scene for over a decade. Her band, Ellen Pieroni and the Encyclopedia of Soul, was recently featured on NPR's All Things Considered as a jazz standout in this year's Tiny Desk contest. Their smooth original music inspired by artists like Grover Washington Jr. and King Curtis is driven by Pieroni's captivating melodies and the band's thoughtful improvisations over deep grooves. Buffalo, New York guitarist Adam Bronstein is known for his clever songwriting and playful improvisation, creating instrumental music that blends bebop, fusion, soul jazz, and psychedelia. With 3 studio albums released in the past 2 years, Intention, Invention, ABtrio, and Jazz is Not Equal to Jazz, as well as a live album, Live at Black Dots, Bronstein has established himself as a prolific artist. While touring with Louis Prima Jr. and The Witnesses and Ellen Pieroni and the Encyclopedia of Soul, he also leads his trio, ABtrio, on frequent tours across the Northeast and Midwest. It is my honor to welcome to the Flamingo Lounge, Ellen Pieroni and Adam Bronstein.
Wow.
Guys.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome to the Flamingo Lounge.
It's so good to be back.
Yes, it's good to be back. Just as a little inside for everyone, folks, they were here back in January, and I, like the knucklehead that I am, I totally messed up the recording. So they have been very gracious to come back and tell us their stories all over again. And but it's been a while, so
I think they're going to be better this time.
I think so, absolutely. I know you got a good one to start out with. I know that. So they're more than just a duo together. So very excited that you guys got engaged very recently. So,
yes, we did.
It's exciting stuff.
Thank you.
Kind of brings a new dynamic to playing together and everything, right? I would imagine. So it does.
It adds some gravity to it.
Exactly. So. As always, we're going to start out by asking each of you if you had an aha moment that you said, music is what I want to do. And then we're going to add something a little bit differently. And we're going to add, after both of you give your individual answers, if you both, when you finally said, man, let's do music together. Like when did that happen? So Ellen, we'll start with you with your aha moment.
All right, I'm shooting from the hip here because honestly, I don't feel like it was an exact moment, but maybe more of like a series of things that happened. But I was very interested in music when I was very young. My father was still is an avid music listener, and he played the guitar. And the first instrument I fell in love with was actually the guitar because he would play it, and I was just so interested. So he ended up getting me my own guitar, and some of my earliest memories playing music are with him in the basement playing guitar together. And he would teach me like AC/DC songs and Gloria and House of the Rising Sun, like that kind of
classics.
stuff.
Yeah, so you got a cool dad is what you're telling me.
Oh, the coolest. And he knows it. And then when I was in 4th grade, I joined band, and saxophone was my third choice, and they gave me my third choice of saxophone. And honestly, I am such an advocate of school music programs because I literally just followed mine through. And by the time I was in, middle school, high school, I knew that I wanted to pursue music more seriously. And I'm so grateful that my school gave me the opportunity to learn an instrument, and it ended up becoming my life's work. So it just, I can't stress enough how important it is for public school to have instrumental music programs.
Oh, that's great. And you're still blowing the sax, right?
I'm still blowing the sax, and now I teach high school band. So
cool. Yeah. it's a
Try to pass it on.
it's neat how it happened. You know how school really can help. You get a good program, you get a good teacher, you know, behind you, kind of sometimes maybe pushing you when you don't want to be pushed, but it's all for it gets you where you're at, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I know I've seen, you know, like years ago, there was always like someone writing to Dear Abby, should I push my kid to play piano, or if he doesn't want to, should I let him not? And, you know, there was always 6 of one, half a dozen the other, you know, arguments for and against. And, you know, it's like, well, if you push them, you know, maybe you push them too far, but then sometimes kids just need a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference between like encouragement and pushing.
Right.
And like both me and my sister were encouraged to take band, and honestly, she kind of wasn't that interested in it. So by the time she reached high school, she went into fashion design. She went to like a BOCES fashion design program and stopped doing band. And you know, my parents were supportive of that.
Sure.
And I like chose to keep going. So I think they'll tell you what they want to do.
Yeah. I wish my parents would have pushed.
I hear you.
You know, but oh well, what are you going to do? I was just a little knucklehead when I was a kid. But Adam, let's go to you next.
All right. So yeah, I also don't know if I had an aha moment or not, but I will say that my parents are big live music advocates, and all of their friends, even like growing up, were all musicians. And so if at an early age, I remember going to see, you know, their friends' bands and musicians that they knew playing. And so it was really normalized. And then I was also a visual artist from a really young age. So I was really immersed in the arts. And then, similar to Ellen, I started on alto saxophone in school in 4th grade. And actually started on recorder, then moved to alto saxophone. And didn't really stick with it, but I just think that laid a real bedrock for, you know, being an artistic person, having an artistic, you know, creative way about me, I guess. And then I, you know, picked up the guitar later on after that, and, you know, have just been playing ever since. And so, you know, I think that the early years in the, you know, support from my parents, you know, in a way that, like, because later on, obviously, you know, there's, you know, help buying your instruments and like driving you to lessons and all that stuff. But I feel like a lot of people I know who aren't artists, or who aren't, you know, professional artists or working artists, always, a lot of times I'll talk to them and it'll come back to this, like, I don't know if it's from their parents or not, but this idea that it's like an unattainable thing. And I think that just like growing up with it being normalized and being, you know, encouraged to do the arts and to experience the arts, and it being kind of like a cool thing, like my parents being like thinking that it's cool that some of their friends are musicians, you know, really helped, you know, lay the groundwork for it to be acceptable to pursue the arts, because a lot of people just don't have that, and their parents are like, oh yeah, that's nice, but, you know, go study this or become a lawyer. And so just having that, you know, having that breeding ground where I didn't think I needed to go and do something else, and I was able to delve into that at an early age, I think has really helped me as an artist, as an adult.
Yeah. I know for me, it was more of my parents just couldn't afford an instrument.
Absolutely.
You know, it was just out of their reach when we were kids, you know, and, you know, later on, and, you know, of course my mom says, oh, I wish. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I did try drums, and I, you know, the drum band leader in the 6th grade, he scared the bejeebers out of me.
Oh no.
So, you know, and all I ever got to do, I've still never, ever hit a drum. I played practice pad and triangle and woodblock, but I've never actually sat down a drum, and that's going to be a goal before I go. So
you got to jump on Craigslist and get yourself a garage drum kit.
Yeah. Well, you know, get a kit down here. Come on.
Jamie Sunshine, she says, get a cone, man. He's get something. I said, I'll teach you how. You know, I'm like, I like that. So that would be cool. And but kind of brings me up to a question, Ellen. You mentioned, you know, school. How come school programs, the two instruments it seems like everyone like learns that when they're kids are guitar and piano, but those aren't taught in school?
No, they aren't. I think it's because, you know, the music programs that we all study, like to become a music educator,
Mhm.
they're all very either orchestral focused, concert band focused,
Mhm.
marching band focused, or
Right.
choral focused, or like classroom music, which I guess, guitar, ukulele, piano, those sorts of things are actually a little bit more involved in classroom music, at
Mhm.
least now.
Right.
But it's because it's based out of the instrumentation of a band. So when I
Right.
got hired at my school, they want to have a marching band. So
Yeah.
if you can't carry it and project in
Sure.
the rain, unfortunately, you can't play it here because I need you all
I
to
know.
march in this parade.
Yeah. I know. I always felt so bad for the poor guy who had to push the amp for the bass player,
I know.
it's
I
like, oh
know.
man, that's but hey, someone has to do it. But when you think about it practical too, I mean, how many pianos can a school program have, right? Too. So you can get 5 or 6 sax players to sit down and have a lesson at the same time, right?
Yeah, some of
I
the
mean,
schools are starting to do keyboard labs and stuff. I
oh,
think it
nice.
really just comes down to how much funding the school
Right.
programs have, because it's not impossible. It's not out of reach. And
No.
some schools are starting to do more of like the modern band thing, which I
Mhm.
think the kids are into,
Mhm.
But in my experience, I think that like no matter what it is, just like get an instrument in front of the kid, they're
Yeah.
gonna find joy in it, or they're gonna find something in it.
Right.
Even if they're not going to become a professional clarinetist in an orchestra,
Mhm.
it's just so good where they can do something that's not on their phones. They can
Right.
build confidence and experience themselves getting better at something and progressing and growing. Like it's just
Yeah.
the act of learning an instrument itself is so worthy.
Yeah,
Right.
learning how, different voices work in an ensemble. I know a lot of
Mm.
instrumentalists, but especially a number of like bass players who grew up playing trombone,
Mhm.
and like stuff like that. So it's like starting them on whatever is available
Mhm.
is great, and then if they're interested in something else, it's like awesome. Just like learning how to get in there and be a part of it is
Right.
important.
Yeah.
So many skills will transfer.
Right. I know my hero Brian Setzer, like he started, what's the smaller tuba?
A euphonium.
I think euphonium. He played euphonium.
Oh, I love that. It's
and
a
that's
beautiful
how
instrument.
Yeah, and that's how he learned how to write music. So he's like, when he got into the whole orchestra thing, he's like, I know how to write music. I know how to read music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like even just the fact that you're learning how to read notation, that's going to transfer to any instrument. If you
Yeah.
want to play the piano and you know how to read notes on a staff, you already have taken one of the hard elements out of it. You can buy yourself a piano book and start to work through it.
Sure.
That's what's so difficult about modern guitar is that it is not always taught in school. And then also, if you're taking private piano lessons, you're probably studying through, a rather traditional method and you're learning how to read. But a lot of guitar students aren't. And they're
Mhm.
just like learning from tablature, which is in a way, it's great because it's like get them playing,
Right.
it doesn't matter. But it does create a little bit of, a lot of guitar players are at working at a deficit when it comes to professional work or like pit work or jazz band stuff.
Right.
And if it were as easy to take guitar as it was to take saxophone at an early age, they would be teaching it like that, and it maybe wouldn't be the case. But it's just like across the board, like guitar players do not read music as consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. I have seen that. It was always one thing I lamented. I really wish I could learn to read. I've gotten better because I've taken some guitar lessons and I can follow at least. I can't tell you what note is the very first note on the page.
Mm-hmm.
If you give it to me,
Right.
give me the chord or give me on the key, I can then start and follow,
Right.
know where to hold and all that good kind of stuff. But and have a fairly good sense. But I want to get to that point where I can just read it, and especially when I'm singing harmonies with my buddy, it's like I want to be able to. He instinctively knows, okay, you're singing this, so I'm going to sing here or there, and I want to know that at some point in life, So, but it's never too late, I guess, right?
It really isn't.
And I know because I didn't start singing until 20, 25 years ago, so I was a late bloomer. Always wanted to do it, but hey, what the heck?
What's the saying about the tree? Planting a tree?
Oh, what best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Second best time to plant a tree is today.
Yeah.
Something
There it
like
is.
that. Yeah.
There you go.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with that said, so I'm going to ask you two. So when did you guys like decide we got something good going here? Let's musically, you
It's a
know.
long brewing story. I know that our origin story is like probably both were kind of aware of each other playing, and this is like back like 10, 15 years ago or so.
At this point, yeah, almost
And
15.
So, and I remember, piano player Harry Grazer had a class, and you were playing at the
At
ice
Mezza.
cream shop. Yeah,
It wasn't an ice cream
it's
shop.
not.
back
It's
then.
an ice cream shop now.
It was like a Mediterranean restaurant on Elmwood
Yeah,
where I had a residency.
Okay.
And I remember being all stoked because it paid like $100 each, which felt like a big deal back then.
Right.
it was a good gig. It was a regular gig too.
And it
You
was
had
on
it-
Wednesdays.
You had a regular
yeah.
Wednesday gig, and he couldn't make one of them because he had a class. And he
Yes,
was-
and he called you as a sub, right?
Yes. And so you sent me the song list, and I was like, this is cool. And I had heard you play, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun gig. And then you like reached out and kind of sent me a bunch of Tim and Eric clips, which is, I don't know if you know Tim and Eric. It's
No.
like an Adult Swim television show.
Okay.
Like a comedy,
Yeah, it's like a live
irreverent humor.
irreverent humor. And I was familiar with the clips, and I
Right.
kind of laughed at one of them and maybe sent another one back or
Right.
something. And I remember then afterwards, like at the gig, I think, or something, we hung out afterwards, and you were kind of like, yeah, I wasn't sure. And I wasn't sure. I didn't know you. Like Harry recommended you, but that was your, like, it wasn't me saying like whether or not the song list was good or whatever. We were all just like, yeah, ready to do the gig.
Right.
But you had to know if I could like hang
It was a
humor
vibe
wise.
check.
Yeah, it was a
There you go.
vibe check.
And you passed.
And I thought it was pretty cool.
And he's still passing today, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we played in many bands together over the years. We
Mhm.
played in like a jazz fusion band called The Truth. We played in a jam band together. I played with the Adam Bronstein freehand band a few times.
Which is a larger band I had, not dissimilar to the trio stuff I'm doing now, but it was just like sometimes 6-piece band, 7-piece band
Right.
that have more horns. And you played with that.
Yeah, so we've just been like collaborating for a really long time.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. So that first time, what instrument were you playing?
I was playing guitar.
Guitar?
Yeah, I was playing guitar. And
That's
I
kind
was
of an
playing
interesting combo, though, guitar and saxophone together.
It was in my quartet, so it was like a jazz quartet.
Oh, okay.
yes,
Yeah.
it was like
Gotcha.
bass,
the
guitar,
Ellen Pieroni quartet.
drums, and alto saxophone. And I was filling in for piano. Harry plays piano. And
Okay.
so I was, covering accompaniment chords and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, it's a fun combination, the guitar and the alto saxophone. They
Mhm.
sit well and register together, and they sound really good together.
Right.
I feel like in every band that we were in together, I loved how much like we could really play unison together. Because like playing harmony in some ways is easier because when you play unison, you have to really blend together.
Mhm.
Like you have to make sure, obviously, your intonation, but also just like the way that you phrase, like just has to kind of meld.
Right.
And I feel like we've always had like a strong like unison sound together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was definitely one of the foundations of like the band that I started. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, obviously Adam needs to be a part of this, but it was also like founded in a love of like music that we both love and
Mhm.
music that you actually showed me. So
Right. And it seems like the jazz community around here, especially the younger jazz guys like you are, y'all get along so well, and everyone's kind of got little combos going, and anyone can just kind of sit in when you need to. It's just like, it just impresses the heck out of me.
it's because we all play weddings together on the
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
Or even though, that's a certain crew. Everybody's got their friends and whatnot, but
Right.
everybody's looking for work.
Right.
And the cool thing about the jazz community is that it can, separate from other styles of music, a lot of times is, you can facilitate subs a lot easier.
Right.
So like for either a kind of pickup gig where you're using, your jazz sensibilities, but it's still just like a pickup gig, a wedding gig, or
Mhm.
like a a Friday night at Jackrabbit. It's like
Right.
everybody's just looking for gigs, and you're able to look at the material and kind of pick up on it and do your thing.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like with like rock music or other styles, it's more like, okay, we're going to rehearse this and present this product.
Mhm.
And so which is fun, and I'm sure people have in those styles of music, they have bills where there's multiple bands on the bill, and that's how they get together and hang out.
Right.
But in a working scene, a lot of times it's like we're all on different gigs together in different bands and all
Right.
working together, and so that's a fun way to all hang out too.
Yeah. And it's so cool that you guys just kind of like, all right, we're going to play this. It's like, all right, people just meld in and blend in and come out, and it's like you've been playing together forever. It amazes me,
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of because learning jazz is like kind of learning a language, and then
Mhm.
once you all know the language, it's easy to hang out and speak,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now, when you guys got started there, Ellen, was that around the one time? Because I will put in a plug. She was our first Buffalo Music Hall of Fame scholarship winner.
Yes.
Way back when. Yeah. I think that was about 15 years ago.
Yes, that was about 15 years
Yeah.
ago. So we met a little later than that.
A little later than that.
Yes. We met, I'm trying to think. I was probably 20,
Yeah.
19 or 20
Okay.
when we met. And that was, I think I was still in high school. That might have
no
been when I was
kidding.
16. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember being pretty young for that one.
Oh, I didn't realize you were that young. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, see, I was running the show. I didn't didn't get to see much, but no, and I know we had you for a good couple of years. See, Ellen was our opening
Yes.
opening music before we got started there.
Yeah,
at
we-
12. That
we
was
played
fun.
a lot of the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame ceremonies. We would be like
Was that EPQ?
Yes, EPQ.
EPQ. Yeah.
Yeah, we played I think 2 years of that.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah.
And I met a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's how I met Van Taylor. That's how
Yeah.
I met Melissa Kate. That's how I met Lance Diamond
yeah.
at one of those events. Rest in peace. I love Lance Diamond.
Wow, that picture of you and Lance Diamond keeps popping up on my phone. Every time I open it, the Photos app just shows this to me, and it's beautiful.
I don't think I knew at the time how much he was influencing me, but like I
Right.
love Lou Rawls and Barry White now.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's all because of Lance Diamond.
Right. Lance was a character and a half, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I always loved telling the story that, it was down at M&T Bank. They used to have those, concert series during the summer. It was Music Hall of Fame week. And so your buddy and mine, Rick Matthews, so we were
Rick.
we were the two MCs, right, for Music Hall of Fame week. And it was Lance Diamond and the 14 Karat Diamond Band, or
Absolutely.
14 Karat Band. And no one told us that the 14 Karat Diamond Band plays, it does a song, and then they introduce Lance Diamond. So I get up there and I introduce him right away, and I know it pissed him off.
Oh,
He's
no.
just like,
I said, no one told me the rules, So afterwards, I'm trying to save face a little. Of course, Lance had the best suits, man. I mean, he just, and I
all
said,
like custom made.
all
right?
custom made. And I went up to him. I'm like, Lance, man, I said, that is the coolest suit. And he's like, yeah, man. He says, you couldn't pull off a suit like this. And I said, oh, try me. I got some suits, baby. So
He had confidence.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That was,
Absolutely.
he definitely had confidence. That's what made him such a showman, right?
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I can see, you learn from that. You just see how he's up there and he's got the command of the band, and obviously they're rehearsed, but it's crazy. So
Yeah.
that's good stuff. So let me get into as you can see, I like my hard copy records here. So I know you've both put out some records recently in the last couple of years. So
Mhm.
who put out a record first? Because I know I've got all of them.
I did.
Okay.
I put out a record in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, let's see, I cut it in April and released it in September, and then you put out a record in 2023
Yep.
and cut it just at the end of 2022 and released it in spring.
Yes.
And then I cut another record in that spring and released that,
Right.
the following end of 2023. So I
Okay.
think like also September,
Right.
and then you released another record.
Recorded
So
over
we've
the
been going
winter.
1 for a while.
I'm
you go.
just trying to keep up here because he just keeps spitting them out, and it is my turn, I think. But he might beat me
I was
to it. We'll
I was
see.
extra productive too in 2024, or coming out of like I had a ABtrio. My second record was released at the end of 2023, and then I released a live record early 2024, and then another record in the summer of 2024.
Mhm.
So three records in like 6 months.
Wow.
But that was about a year ago. In 2025, I released one tune in conjunction with the Tiny Desk performance in February, and have just been writing some stuff and going to be getting back into the studio when I, as an independent artist, I have to, fund it. It's all about self-funding.
Exactly.
So balancing self-funding for some tours and stuff with self-funding another record, and now saving for a marriage.
There you go.
For a wedding.
Hey, I can tell you how to do it really inexpensively and awesome because my wife and I did it that way. So
A record?
no, the marriage. I've never done a record. No, I've never done that. Which I do want to ask you though, because I recently had Jacob J and Dalton Sharp from J Sharp Tech Down talking about how do you guys go about recording jazz, because jazz is so fluid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't imagine you do one track, another track, and blend them together. That just would not.
Both of my records were live tracking.
Recordings, yeah.
So we did overdubs afterwards,
Mhm.
but all of the rhythm section and all of my solos were
Right.
recorded. And then some people overdub solos, and then also I would sometimes overdub playing some flute or other horns, or having some special guests come in,
Right.
or auxiliary percussion, but the basis of the track was done just live in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the tracks get released just that way,
Right.
with nothing more added to them. I'm actually getting ready to release a song on the 31st of August, so but it's a kind of extended version. It's basically an alternate take of a song off my first off of this record. I'm talking about Soul Vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool because it isn't altered in any way. It's just the five of us in the room, just captured.
Right.
So I'm very excited to release it. And it's a long improvisational track. So it's going to be a cool thing to put out there.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I mean, the whole idea, and I talk a lot about this because I've been in the studio once with Billy Sheehan, Jesse Galante, and Bobby LaBelle, and saw their process, and it was, for me, it was really interesting because I'm just a fly on the wall, and how does all this stuff. And I know, and I've read a lot of stuff, and me being the rockabilly guy, way back in the day, they used to do the same thing with rockabilly. Everyone would get in and boom. And it was so that raw energy just came across. And it's just interesting to me. And it seems like more and more bands are starting to kind of maybe do that, even if it's just like you said at the beginning, and then maybe they'll, that part didn't, so we'll overdub that or whatever. But you still get that kind of camaraderie and that working off of each other feeling that I don't think you can get with individual tracks, right?
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. I've done a couple of projects throughout the years where it was you have an acoustic guitar play to a click, and then you have a drummer play to that, and it's honestly so much harder. It's just and you lose your way so much more easily. And I think that people do kind of put the Beatles or these bands that did create records kind of like that, piece by piece, even though a lot of the Beatles stuff was again, rhythm sections, cutting something, they're laying stuff over top, just like Ellen's saying.
Right.
But this idea of the fully tracked album, and engineers kind of being no, this is the best way to get it as clean as possible. So you can, if you want to move the bridge to here, and using Pro Tools to have everything to a click, and I think it's so easy to get lost in the weeds. And the times when I've done that, I don't think the product was as good as when you just set up some mics in the room, and you don't even need, you're setting up some SM58s and you're setting up some overheads, and you just kind of go. and capture some stuff.
Yeah.
And it's you listen, you like that so much better listening back to it, and you can hear it and feel the like this moment that you captured, as opposed to hearing this idea you're gonna never quite be able to get out the way that's in your head.
Right.
So kind of just accepting. With the room, you have to accept the moment, whereas with the tracking stuff, you're trying to have too much control over it, and I just don't think it yields as fun of results.
Right. You mentioned the word that I don't like. It's clean.
Yeah,
I like the raw and the spontaneity and the the energy that it brings, and maybe a few mistakes even. I mean,
there's times when it's like, oh, can we take out that note there, and it's like, well, yeah, we can maybe help this or move this around, but like sometimes it's like, well, not really, because it's bleeding into the drums or it's bled into the piano, so you just like accept it, and then you listen back to it 5 more times and you're like, actually now I love that note. So it's like it saves you from excessive editing or from like trying to make it sound like something it isn't. You just kind of have to go with it.
You definitely have to release it being perfect, but I think that also helps to get the product out there, because if you have too much control and you can make it perfect, you're gonna like lose your mind trying to make it sound perfect.
Right.
And if you can't make it sound perfect, then you have to just accept it.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that like anything I release would be like something that I'm not proud of or something that I think sounds bad. Like obviously there's like, the product needing to be ready to be released. But like, I don't know, if a note cracks, like I listen to so much jazz where John Coltrane cracks a note, or,
absolutely,
Cannonball Adderley's perfect. He never cracks a note. But a lot of these guys did. And, Miles, and it's kind of an endearing thing to hear.
Yeah.
I think it was Miles Davis, correct me if or if I'm wrong, but like Miles would always use the take where the first time that the head was played correctly. Does that sound right?
That sounds right. Sounds like a great method.
Yeah, it was like, okay, well, like if they're still screwing up the head or the melody of the song, we have to take another take.
Okay.
But he wanted it to sound as raw as possible, or like where it was at its most improvisational or inventiveness, because the more takes you do, the more you're like rehearsing, or you're like trying to do what you did before, or you're like overanalyzing and overthinking. So just like capturing that like truly like innovative spirit. It's interesting. I know it brings me watching the movie Ray when he first was in the studio, and they're like, man, he did that at one take. And it's like, we don't want to do it again.
Sometimes the first take is the best one,
right?
So and if you only have limited time in the studio, or you're just like, wow, we just nailed that one, why do it again? Then the best thing to do is to move on,
right? Now, how do you take what you do in the studio out live onto the stage? Do you have are your songs pretty structured, or are they a little bit looser? Where, I mean, obviously when you're on stage, people are doing, improv and solos and all that kind of stuff. But is there some kind of a structure, for each particular song, if you will?
We're looking at each other right now.
Who wants to go first?
Who wants to go first? Both of our songs, I think, similarly are traditional. Here's a structure, and maybe we'll like play it as written. Both of us work with like actually writing out music, especially sometimes I think both of us write a little differently, but before it gets to the band, it always gets written down, So Alan writes a little bit on piano. I write like with a pencil and paper and erase stuff and put it back in, and that kind of thing. And then we both usually open up a computer program, type it out. MuseScore. I was a Finale user, and now I love MuseScore.
Well, because Finale died.
Finale, anyways, but I love MuseScore.
The context is that he used to give me all kinds of grief for using MuseScore because Finale was so much nicer, but then Finale like went out of business or ceased to exist, and now he's over on MuseScore being like, this is actually pretty nice.
Yeah, it's nice. These are all like notation software, so we're like turning it into something we can give to the band, and then from there, I think similarly, you have like certain things that are written that this is the way we do it, or the first time through we play it like this, and then it's open, and then it's like, all right, now let's pass it around, you know. And so now we're going to take some solos on it, or we have a section of the song that is open. So, but we're waiting on a cue. So this section is open. It might be 1 minute, it might be 10 minutes, but we're waiting for the guitar to cue this, or the saxophone to play this, or us to play this line together. And so there is a lot of composition. And with my music, I know in particular, I hear it very specifically in my head in a certain way, and I try to write it out as clearly as possible. And then I do want to hear the band play it just like that. And as soon as I know they know it and can understand what I'm trying to say with it, then I don't care at all. I start to be like, okay, cool, I'm moving on to the next song. However, and somebody would be like, yeah, I don't play that outro like you wrote it anywhere. I'm like, great, cool. Like, yeah, the songs they evolve into new things, which is always fun. Right. But I think that as composers, both of us are similar in that, like, we write it down, we want to show it to you, we want you to understand what we're trying to do, and let's get that down first, you know.
The only thing I'll add to that too, like, yes, a lot of that is true for me as well. But just with like specifically the studio element of it is like, I write more for the live band than the studio. So when we get in the studio, I'm just trying to capture what the live band would do. And like, I think that's very different for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people, work really hard to make the studio recording sound a specific way. But my favorite studio recordings, for the most part, I obviously listen to a lot of music, but the music that I want to sound like, or I'm most inspired by, is when they're just capturing what the band would sound like live. Right. And so for me, it's just trying to get everybody in there and relax enough to just like do what they do on the gig. Because when it sounds like that, then I'm happy. Yeah. Yeah.
So now what are I mentioned, Adam, some of your records. What are your latest and greatest albums that you just released?
Well, my latest album is called Soul Vacation. Okay. And that's the record that I do have a track coming out soon, shortly. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And then my greatest album is the only other album I have. And it's called The Encyclopedia of Soul, Volume 1. Right.
My most recently released track is called Overstimulated at the Grocery Store, which I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
It's
not me.
It's probably, it might end up being a standalone, or it might end up being a part of its brethren, a bunch of other songs that I've been writing this year. So that song I did, in the past, and usually even with my next release or any release, sometimes you have some new songs and some old songs. And but that song's a song that I wrote in 2025 and was released, and you can find on Spotify, and some other songs like that are currently being written and played. I have maybe you're getting to this, but I have a monthly gig at Nietzsche's in town, this bar in town, and every second Thursday from 6 to 8. But it's the like purpose of that gig is to work out new material, and so I'm working out a lot of stuff there. And so when you come to see it, you can see these songs kind of come into shape before they get to the next record.
Yeah. Now both of you have made the decision to put a lot of your stuff on vinyl. What made you, as you can see, I love my vinyl, but why did you guys go, man, we got to put this on vinyl?
Because we love vinyl.
Yeah.
Because we love vinyl so much that we just had to buy another shelf because we ran out of shelf space for both of our record collections.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be pushing 2,500 records in our living room right now.
Right. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're just appreciators of vinyl. And I think that it was just important to be, I just wanted to be able to hold it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the CD is so small. You can barely see the picture and the font. The vinyl, you got some room on there.
Absolutely. And you sell more vinyl.
Right.
It's a better sales item. People are more interested in it. It's a higher ticket item. So it's a higher investment, but I think that dollar for dollar, it yields more. Now, whether or not you can make that work for you with how much you're spending on the session and all that other stuff,
and how many records you're willing to store in your apartment that people don't want to buy,
or your mom and dad's like closet upstairs. Yeah. But yeah, it is like in the long run, I think it's a better product. It sells more and you can charge more for it. So.
Right. Yeah. Do you record differently for vinyl than you do for CD?
The mastering is a little different, but I don't do the mastering.
Okay.
I tell someone else,
Yeah.
hey, this one's for vinyl.
Yeah.
But usually it is mastered a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's a little, because, people have said, the bass, as you get closer to the inside of the record, and there's all kinds of science and wacky stuff that
so
goes on with that.
we definitely took that into consideration,
Yeah.
especially with like the second records each of us did, because you could listen to the first record and there is that thing where it gets to the middle of the record, and I know I was conscious about putting a song on there that kind of like faded out and had a psychedelic ending, so that if it had a different character to it, that would add to it.
Right.
But I think that it worked. I'm like, okay, well, however it sounds on the CD and on streaming is fine.
Right.
So kind of planning for the vinyl first and then letting it just work everywhere else.
Right. Yeah. So vinyl comes first, and then maybe a CD. And
yeah, I mean, it's the vinyl has the most regulations for what can fit and how it fits, because you have to make sure that the whole thing is under about 42 minutes, but also the sides have to be under I think the math was wrong. It's like 44 minutes, and 22 per side is like the ideal for still having good sound quality. I think 20 per side is actually the best sound quality. So I couldn't actually put the songs in the order that I wanted to, because it became a math problem. It was wait, I would have to cut this song in half and flip the record during it to do it the way that I want to.
So you got to kind of do the puzzle of figuring out how the stuff, or
what can you live with?
For my second record, I specifically recorded shorter songs, and which was for the vinyl, but also just in general, I wanted to have some shorter songs that you can play them longer live, but I wanted the idea to be a little bit more tight. And then I recorded a bunch of little 1 minute, 2 minute interludes that could be used to glue together and kind of pad out different sides, so that I could get the maximum amount of music on the record.
Right.
And that's because it's a lot easier than having a bunch of 7 or 8 minute songs, and then you're gonna have to cut an entire song off the record.
Right. No, that's an interesting way to approach it. Yeah, gives you a little bit more creativity. And so what it makes you do though is, I would think, before you're even going to record, you're like, all right, let's do the math. And it's no one told us there'd be math today, right? And, but music's all about math anyways, right? So
what happens to me is I go into the studio afraid I'm not going to have enough material, and then I leave the studio being like, dang it, I have too much material every single time.
That's why you're releasing a special 10-minute version, because it didn't fit.
It didn't fit.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll fit on a 45.
Oh, now you're
dedicated 45. Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the graphic artist to me, you guys got some pretty cool covers and all that. Who's doing your artwork for the albums?
So we both do a lot of our own graphic design. I will say I work with a visual artist, Matt Sigourney.
Okay.
And he and I do a lot of the visual art aspects of the stuff for my records. But Ellen, you just design all your covers, right?
Yes, but it's all centered around the photography of Ginny Rose Stewart, who is my photographer. I love her so much. She will photograph everything I do ever. So I usually will go in for a photo shoot and then, center all of the graphic stuff around these great shots that
Jenny, if you're listening, we do need a quote for the wedding.
Yes.
That's right.
Engagement photos.
Right. Yeah. Go easy on her, guys. Which kind of brings me now, when you take her photography, do you do any manipulation? Does she have any stipulations when she kind of I've been budding photographer here trying to.
She's
Takes-
like so easygoing.
Yeah.
She's never had any issue with like what I've done. But I honestly like the thing that I love so much about her is like she will try to create in the photo the effects that I would have put on them.
Okay.
Like I really like when things look kind of like spacey or when
Mhm.
there's like prisms of light or like things that are kind of like a little blurry or a little, like
Right.
in the sort of like when things look vintage
Mhm.
or,
Mhm.
those sorts of effects.
Right.
And all of those effects would probably be way easier to do like in Photoshop, but she'll actually bring things to like hold in front of the camera. She'll like bring a crystal or bring she's just brought all kinds. She brought like wind chimes once, like just like, oh, I think this will do something cool. And she'll be holding it in front of the camera and the results are like incredible.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
honestly, I don't really do much to alter the photos at all.
That's cool. Old school. I love
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not using the technology. I think that's kind of, it opens up some more doors too, right? So you can get really, really like hung up on technology
Mm-hmm.
and almost the same as you would in the studio, but on the art side, it's like, all right, stop, right? It's
Yeah, I feel
Mhm.
like our photo shoots always feel really creative, and I've
Mhm.
done 2 now with both her and the same makeup artist,
Okay.
Chantel Nicole. And I just feel like the 3 of us have this really awesome synergy. And Chantel's like the makeup is literally art. Like she's
Yeah.
giving me a face of artwork, and
Mhm.
then like I don't know, it's just like a really magical
Yeah.
thing to like work together and create together.
Right.
Yeah,
So now, what do you guys do to market yourselves?
pull our hair out.
Yeah, because it's tough, right?
Look at your phone for
Adam,
too
you
long.
mentioned you've got a monthly gig. Is it
Yeah,
just kind of
monthly gig helps, and I do a lot of like when I'm on the road, I do a lot of or try to do a lot of targeted advertising. So through like Facebook, Instagram, you can set to certain cities that you want a video or a Facebook event to show to them. And so when I'm traveling around and playing to new people, that's like one of the most helpful things I could do, aside from like working obviously with the venue to, they might have like a group, like a Facebook group that I could post in and there and post some videos and stuff. So there's a lot of that, but like Buffalo, Western New York area is like I think anywhere where you're from. So you're from the area is different from where you're going out and touring. So the things that I do when I travel and use to market myself is not the same as what I do in here. But I know at Buffalo, because that's where I'm from, but like having a weekly or like monthly gig around here is super helpful, because people are always asking like, when are you playing? And then they miss your big Saturday night show at, here, but they do make it out to like regular stuff. And then also you're like working, I was going to talk to you about this. It's like, oh, it's so nice working with Nietzsche's, because they'll post pictures of the stuff and their reach is a lot wider than mine. So like I've got like all sorts of people commenting, and people who I know would love to see my post and love to see my advertising, but don't always see it. We'll see the venue's advertising. And so, contacting the venues and seeing how you can work with them both on the road and then like here, finding something like that works for you. I think is a lot better than, or, the old school method of just like, again, like let's book a Saturday or a Friday night and hit the street with flyers and like hype it up and make it a big party and just like keep growing. Those is not necessarily the way that jazz fans, consume music. So trying to think outside the box in that regard has been helpful.
No, that's interesting you say that, is your audience, right? So you got to know who that audience is to know the right channels and methods and everything to do it. Now, I was going to ask you too, because you mentioned touring, and when I had you in here 6 months ago, you guys were just getting ready to go on a tour.
Yeah.
And how'd that go?
Oh yeah, right. It went great.
Yeah.
It was fun.
We both did tours. Adam did multiple tours.
Yeah, April was busy. End of March, April was very busy. And I think first I went out for a couple different blocks, but it was about 14 days. And then went out right after that, like came home the next day and went right back out with Alan's band, and we were out for 10 days straight with again then another little break and another, like a show or two after that.
Right.
Or the other way around maybe.
Yeah, I love being on tour. It's my favorite place to be, and I think sometimes I get I feel a little stuck here, you know. I think that you're always going to be the least impressive in your hometown, and it's just really nice to go to different places and feel validated in what you're doing. Like we played some very like legitimate jazz clubs in legitimate cities, and I sold more records in a week than I've sold in the year that I've been trying to promote this record in Buffalo.
Right.
So like it just is nice to know that support is out there. And now I feel like I'm just trying to do everything that I can to get my band out on the road as often as possible, even if it's just shooting out to Rochester and Syracuse and Albany and trying to build up markets in Akron, Ohio. You know, it's still, you know, feels worthy.
Right.
Yes.
You guys kind of hanging around Northeast?
Northeast, Midwest has been
He's
good
getting
to
a little
us.
further. He has a little more flexibility with his schedule. And
The Midwest, like as far west as Chicago, I think has been working, and then getting down as far south as like, you know, Kentucky, Cincinnati. But everything, you know, when the more you drive around these places, it all gets a little closer and feels a little closer. So recently, with my trio, we went on a little run where we went through Ontario and played in Windsor, and then crossed back into the United States and played at the Jazz Fest Michigan in Lansing.
Cool.
And that was fun. It was just like it wasn't part of a longer run, and we just kind of drove right back from Detroit where we were staying, and drove right home and hit a couple sheets on the way home. This is our favorite gas station.
Best gas station ever.
And,
best mozzarella sticks.
And it's just like, it just seems a lot easier. Whereas I know it used to feel like a schlep going to Rochester, or you're like, oh, we're playing this show on the road and it's in Jamestown. And it's like, you know, so the more you go out, the smaller the world seems.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Now, do you guys book your own stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For each of our like independent, like for my trio, I book all of it, and for her band, she books all of it.
Right. So you like just going on Google saying, I want to go to Philadelphia. Where's a jazz club?
It's a lot of slowly procuring email addresses and not hearing back from people. But relentlessly trying, and or trying to find someone who might know the person and put in a good word, or like a lot of sharing venues. You know, a lot of the places I hit on my tour were places that Adam had just hit on his, and some of the rooms that he's played are rooms that I, you know, still had a contact from Folk Faces back when I did booking for them and played with them. So, you know, just slowly accumulating contacts and trying to, when you find a good one and you find a good room to play, trying to get back there and keep the relationship. And
it's a lot of emailing, like Ellen said, not a lot of not hearing back from people. And but you know.
It's like honestly, I think the ratio is terrifying. Like as far as like the cold calling goes, like I feel like you send 100 emails and you get back like 5 automated messages that are like, we got your email, and 3 people saying, you know, get out of here, get off my lawn, and like one person being like,
I already booked it up, but I'll book you next year if you get back to me with 6 months. We usually book 6 to 8 months out.
And then maybe finally, after you've emailed this other person 7 times, they're like, okay, I think I got something for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm in sales, man. And that's the key to sales. It's just persistence, right?
I remember
wear them down.
Close to the last time we were here, we were going to New Orleans. We were flying to New Orleans last February. And I remember I was actively booking my tour, and we were like, they were calling our group to board. And I had my email just like a venue had just gotten back to me, Merriman's Playhouse in South Bend, Indiana. and I was just like frantically trying to like answer them really quick because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I got to secure this gig, and but we had to get on the plane as well. So it's like it never
Priorities.
Yeah, you're always
Yeah.
you're always kind of working when you're an independent artist.
Right. Now I'm going to ask because I didn't say anything before we started, but is there a couple of tracks off of your new records that we can play here and leave a little music at the end for people to listen to and get a little taste?
I mean, you can play any of my music. I think
Right.
last time I sent over Lonely No More because
Okay.
it's a song that my band plays that Adam wrote. So
Okay.
it's like a good collaboration.
Nice.
Yeah.
But also, if there's anything that you would want played of your music.
That's a good one. That's a good for that reason. That's a great one to play. And we actually don't play that one. We haven't been playing that one as much live because it requires a lot of group vocals.
It requires crowd participation, and that requires a crowd.
So it'll be fun for us to hear it because I don't think we've heard it in a couple
Oh,
months.
wow. Okay. All right. Well, you heard it, kids. So at the end of the show, we're going to be playing Lonely No More, which is a
Perfect.
collaboration of both of you guys. So it makes sense to have a nice collaboration with the two of you at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because we're getting close to the top of the hour. As I always say, it goes fast when
Yes.
we're having fun and talking music. And so before we sign off, what's coming down the pike? What can people expect this fall from both of you?
All right. Well, on August 31st, I don't know if this episode will be out.
It's past that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, then that means that the song will already be out.
Wow.
Right.
So go straight to Spotify. Do not pass go. Do
Right.
not collect $200. Go stream
Dang.
Soul Vacation. You can listen to the whole record, but more specifically, it's like Soul Vacation. I think it's alternate take. I don't remember what I named it on Spotify, but it's
All right.
something along those lines.
Okay.
But go check that out. And then, just come to a show. Keep an eye out for Ellen Pieroni, the Encyclopedia of Soul. We're playing November 29th at Nietzsche's. Details pending, but we will be there. We usually do Soul Brunch at Jackrabbit about once a month on a Sunday. And it's a nice late brunch, so if you sleep in, you can still make it. It's
There you
1
go.
to 4.
Yeah.
Steak's great. Steak
This-
and eggs is
oh.
real
Oh.
good.
And my mouth is watering thinking
I know.
about it.
Oh, they got some great food over there. So
They do.
But yeah,
Yeah.
just come to a show. You have no idea how much when you go see a local show, you have no idea what it means to the local musician. So get off your phone, shut off your TV, leave the house, and go hear some local music. I literally don't even care if it's my band. You
Right.
can go see any local band, but go see a local band.
Yeah. See,
Mm-hmm.
good advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, Adam?
Well, like I mentioned, so I'm doing a monthly happy hour jazz series at Nietzsche's that's every second Thursday. So I don't know what is now. Right now when you're listening, I don't know what
Right.
what now is.
Yeah.
But it's every second Thursday. So whatever,
right.
if you're currently in the first Thursday, it's next week. And
There you go.
so yeah, but every second Thursday playing Nietzsche's 6 to 8, no cover, and we're trying to just do kind of work on the book and work on new music and have some different special guests and everything like that.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, that's great. Adam, Ellen, I can't thank you enough for coming down again. And,
You got it.
sharing
Yeah.
your stories, and it's been a lot of fun. And for everyone who's tuned in, we hope you've had just as much fun as we have. As always, you can find the podcast where you get your podcasts at Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audible, and now you'll be able to find the podcast on YouTube. So very, very recently, I added YouTube to the list of venues. So new stuff. Just started a few weeks ago, so unfortunately the old stuff I got to work on trying to get that backlogged, but the new stuff will be up on YouTube. TheBuffaloHive.com also runs the podcast, and as well as RockabillyGreg.com, where it's all about the music, and I'll have bio and links and all that good kind of stuff. Some videos I'm sure are available that we'll throw up there on RockabillyGreg.com, so you can check out where Adam and Ellen are playing and keep up to date. So again, thanks guys. And we are going to end the show with Lonely No More from Adam Bronstein and Alan Pieroni. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. In the Flamingo Lounge is made possible in part by CatsLikeUs.com, your online store for authentic vintage clothing and accessories. Buffalo Ironworks, an intimate live music venue and bar located in the Cobblestone District in downtown Buffalo. And by Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, Western New York's premier golf course, restaurant, and banquet facility. At the Hawk, the bar is hopping year-round with live music every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And some other nights, too. Tune in for a new episode every Saturday at 9 a.m. EST at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music. Bark, Zoe, bark. Good girl.